Maoke told So-mun that the black dots on his hand were the door to the spirit world. She explained, "Put your hand on your chest, close your eyes for 3 seconds, and you can go there." Seeing that So-mun was still a bit hesitant, Maoke coaxed him and said that if So-mun joined the demon hunters, they would help him heal his leg wound. So-mun immediately obeyed. Counting to 3, So-mun returned to the beach in his dream. Wee-Jen told him that the space before him was called Yum. It was the boundary between human and the afterlife world after death. Under Wee-Jen's guidance, So-mun saw demons for the first time and learned that demons, in order to survive, sought out people filled with murderous intent to possess. They borrowed hosts to kill people and then sucked the souls of the victims. The more souls were sucked, the stronger the demon inside became, eventually complete time. This was also the reason why they chose comatose people to be demon hunters. After all, their lives wouldn't last long, so they might as well give it a try and still have a chance to live. Hearing this, So-mun hesitated and refused to participate. His grandparents both needed him to take care of them, and he couldn't take such a risk. But Maoke still gave So-mun a week to think. 7 days later, if So-mun didn't want to become a hunter, they would erase his memories. After leaving the noodle shop, So-mun received a call from Eun-min. Eun-min had been kidnapped by Hik-woo's group. They asked So-mun to take Hana to the school gym. Not only can Hana read minds, her hearing is also excellent. She heard the content of So-mun's phone call. However, So-mun did not want to involve Hana, so he decided to go there alone. In order to dispel Hik-woo's anger, So-mun lowered his head and let them beat him. Hik-woo, who still hated Hana, continued to vent his anger on So-mun, forcing him to tell him where Hana was. At this moment, So-mun suddenly blocked Hik-woo's punch. His hidden power seemed to be about to explode. However, he was immediately surrounded and beaten by them again. So-mun lost consciousness after being punched several times by Hik-woo. Just when Eun-min was in despair, 3 demon hunters appeared. Hana carried So-mun on her shoulders and warned the bullies not to cause any more trouble. Motak and Maoke originally intended to let things go, but the bullies continued to provoke them. Motak couldn't hold it anymore. He jumped up and broke each of their legs. Finally, Maoke erased the bullies' memories and compassionately healed their broken bones. When So-mun woke up, he found himself in the noodle shop. He had only taken a few steps when he fell down. He felt that his injured leg was strange. It turned out that Maoke had healed his leg, but because he hadn't walked normally for so long, So-mun couldn't adapt to it right now. So-mun was extremely excited. He ran out into the street in joy, feeling how good it was to be able to move on 2 legs. After returning to the noodle shop, So-mun was filled with gratitude towards Maoke. He also confided in everyone about his story. In the accident 7 years ago, So-mun's parents died. Hearing this, the members also showed a lot of sympathy, because before they became demon hunters, they had also experienced terrible accidents that almost killed them. If they hadn't become demon hunters, they might have died long ago. Among them, Motak lost his memory because his skull was shattered. He still can't remember his identity. At this time, Hana felt the presence of a demon. A level 1 demon was rampant in the human world. Maoke and Hana went out to take action, while Motak stayed behind to further educate So-mun. Motak told So-mun that demon hunters had 3 times the strength of normal people. Moreover, under the support of the territory, their strength would double. The gym at the time before had been summoned by the territory. After hearing this, So-mun realized that it was no coincidence that he had blocked Hik-woo's punch. Motak instructed So-mun to face his own strength. Motak asked So-mun to punch and attack him. Just like that, So-mun finally broke a chair. This made So-mun extremely surprised. Under Motak's persuasion, So-mun finally agreed to join this hunt. The 2 ran on the road, even faster than the bus. During this time, Motak explained to So-mun about the differences between the levels of demons. Very quickly, the 2 arrived at the area where the demon resided. Hana shared the information about the demon that she sensed with everyone. The demon this time was only at level 1. It had not killed anyone yet, so the danger was not great. Therefore, the group split up to search for the demon's location. As it was the first time, So-mun was very active. When passing by a room, So-mun carefully discovered an abnormality. The boy was lying unconscious on the bed, and a woman seemed to be trying to kill someone. So-mun did not wait for the seniors to arrive. He immediately used his ability to remove the iron fence on the window. At this time, Motak also ran over. He quickly pulled the woman away. She was frantically using a pillow to kill the man in front of her. Motak read the man's memory and found out that he had just beaten the boy lying on the bed, causing the boy to hit his head against the wall and become unconscious. The boy's mother, in order to save her son, had beaten the man unconscious and tried to suffocate the man. The woman's face was covered with bruises, showing that she had been brutally beaten frequently. So-mun saw that the boy was no longer breathing, so he quickly used his hand to continuously press on the boy's chest, hoping to save him. After many times without success, So-mun was extremely worried. Fortunately, Maoke arrived in time. She used her healing ability to save the boy from death. Hana also discovered that the unconscious man was the demon they were looking for. door, Hana placed her hand on the man's chest and collected the demon's soul. So-moon saw the man's face change continuously. The evil demon in his body was destroyed. This battle ended successfully. After that, a few people suggested that So-moon join the counter group, become a demon hunter, and also gave him a red uniform. Motak didn't want to wait a week anymore. He wanted So-moon to come to the overpass to find them the next morning. If he didn't come, he would erase So-moon's memory. After returning home, the grandmother was very happy to know that her grandson's leg had healed. Although she still didn't recognize him, she couldn't contain her joy. That night, So-moon decided to become a demon hunter. He put his hand on his chest and went to Young to find Wei-jen. After hearing Wei-jen explain the 3 rules of the counter group, So-moon asked to meet his parents. Wei-jen agreed. So-moon wore the red uniform that his seniors gave him. Then, he jumped high, leaving his own blue handprint. The 3 bullies had their memories erased that day. They woke up and found themselves in the gym. They immediately went to question who dared to play such a trick on them. As a result, So-moon was bullied again. But he was no longer the So-moon of yesterday. So-moon took the initiative to counterattack and teach them a lesson. He also warned them to remember today's feelings. Don't bully anyone else in the future, or else they will get more seriously injured in the future. This scene caused his classmates to gather to watch. Juyeon and Eungmin were both extremely surprised. After that, So-moon had to undergo rigorous training to become a qualified demon hunter. Motak explained the benefits of the territory to So-moon in detail. In the territory, the physical strength of a hunter will be 5 times that of an ordinary person, and the demons that enter the territory will not be able to hide themselves. Not only that, becoming a hunter will have the ability to read other people's short-term memories. Most importantly, someone needs to practice and find his own special abilities. For example, Hana has sharp hearing and the ability to read other people's long-term memories. Mayoke has the ability to heal, and Motak has good strength. In the noodle shop, everyone mentioned that Chung Sin killed Choljum. Mayoke took out a book of demon portraits to show So-moon. However, the senior's drawing skills were really not high. So-moon couldn't help but laugh out loud. So he used a pencil to sketch and drew a perfect portrait of Chung Sin. The basement of the noodle shop was the place where hunters were trained. Here, So-moon was taught by Hana and Motak in turn. Under everyone's training, So-moon began to practice diligently. Not long after, his level was at another level. One day after school, So-moon and the counter group went on a mission. The target this time was probably a level 3 demon. It was going to suck the soul of a little girl. They had to get there before the demon acted. The sky gradually turned dark. So-moon and everyone drove to where the demon appeared. After arriving at the scene of the incident, they found that the demon had gone out of the territory, so it was difficult to sense. Hana remembered that she had just seen the demon holding a chisel in her hand, so Moon guessed that the demon was a stone cutter. They searched online and found a nearby stone factory. A group of 4 people hurried to the stone factory. The father and daughter of the stone factory kindly took the demon in and taught him the trade. But the demon was full of negative energy, not used to seeing the poor father and daughter happy all day. When everyone arrived, So-moon was asked to wait in place. Coincidentally, a small piece of territory appeared next to him. Could it be that So-moon's skill was to be able to control the territory at will? And not far away, the oven was still smoking. Afterwards, So-moon discovered the demon in a nearby warehouse. He immediately rushed to fight him and informed the remaining teammates. During the process of the seniors rushing over, So-moon, because he had come into contact with the demon, read his memories. He discovered that the mountain-climbing married couple who had been accidentally killed by the demon were the parents of the girl who had reported the missing person. Someone witnessed the demon's crime and was momentarily panicked, so he let the demon run away. The girl was also taken away. To make up for their mistakes, So-moon and Motak chased the demon together. So-moon climbed the tall tower to show Motak the location of the demon, but the demon used the little girl as bait to stop Motak. In the critical moment, So-moon rushed over in time to fight fiercely with the demon, but after a while he was at a disadvantage. The demon's sharp weapon was right in front of So-moon. Suddenly, territories appeared around So-moon, causing his abilities to increase greatly. He successfully reversed the situation. Fortunately, his seniors stopped him in time. If So-moon killed the demon, the soul of the host body would also die. This time, the demon was captured by So-moon, so he personally led the demon and the souls captured by the demon to the young world. So-moon witnessed the demon being punished. He also promised the mountain-climbing married couple that he would pass on a message to their daughter. After bringing the bad guys to justice, So-moon watched the police solve the case, remembering that his parents were also criminal police. After learning that So-moon's father's name was So-gwon, even though he had lost his memory, Motak's eyes still widened when he heard this name. 7 years ago, Motak was brain dead. After a few months, he miraculously woke up. On his person, Motak discovered So-gwon's business card. But Motak and the young world had signed a demon hunter agreement, so he could not get involved in human affairs. Otherwise, he would die again. Motak Motak had no choice but to stop investigating the past. Now, Sogwon's son, So-mun, was in front of him. Motak became even more curious about his background. Therefore, he decided to investigate the cause of his death to the end. On the way back, Hana touched So-mun. She saw the scene of So-mun getting into a car accident when he was young. She looked at So-mun sleeping beside her with heartache. On the other hand, So-mun had repeatedly participated in school bullying behavior, hindering their money-making activities. This had attracted the attention of the gang leader. The next day, So-mun left his crutches to go to school. A series of amazing dance moves and somersaults caught the attention of Ju-yeon and Eung-min. They immediately recognized that this person was So-mun, so they were extremely surprised. In front of the school gate, So-mun successfully stopped another act of bullying. He threw the bullies' school bags more than 10 meters away. Ju-yeon and Eung-min had witnessed everything, so So-mun could no longer pretend. He told them that his legs had recovered, but the reason for the recovery could not be said. However, they did not care about the reason. Seeing So-mun being able to walk normally, they were so happy that they cried. Under the gang leader's guidance, the bullies went to So-mun's class to cause trouble. Unexpectedly, they were beaten up by him and had to run away. So-mun was honest and upright, receiving encouragement from other students. After school, Ju-yeon and Eung-min taught So-mun to ride a bike. While riding across the street, So-mun was almost hit by a truck, causing him to fall to the ground. So-mun seemed to recall the memory of a car accident when he was young. Immediately, symptoms of difficulty breathing appeared. After a while, there was a slight improvement. The gang leader of the bullies felt extremely humiliated after returning. Hyuk-woo came up with an idea. He could attack So-mun's friend to lure So-mun over. Then, he would call more people to beat So-mun alone. On the other hand, in the noodle shop, Hana talked about the scene she saw when she read So-mun's memories. She deduced that the accident So-mun had encountered when he was young was not an accident, but a murder. At that time, there were 2 men at the scene. Besides, Hana also heard the news on the radio about Mayor Shin's election. Motak checked the date and found out that the time he was in a coma was also the day Threth. So-mun's family had an accident. Motak borrowed So-mun's ID card and went to the police station to get the case report of himself and So-mun's family. Motak was shocked to find out that the report said that he had tried to leave this world and that So-mun's parents had drunk driving. This was obviously unreasonable. Motak was very suspicious that police officer Kim was in charge of these 2 cases, so he decided to ask for clarification himself. At the police station, Motak happened to meet a very arrogant drug dealer. His name was Chang Kyu. Because he had connections, he was released. After meeting Chang Kyu, Motak's head appeared the image of himself being murdered. One of the people who killed him was Chang Kyu. Afterwards, Motak, through observing the words and actions of police officer Kim, found that she was very familiar with him. It was very possible that she was an old colleague, but police officer Kim was very cold to him. It was not until Motak said that there were 2 people who killed So-mun's family, which was inconsistent with what was written in the report, that police officer Kim was confused. When she investigated, it was clear that there was only one criminal, and he had already left this world. In the evening, after school, So-mun and Hana came to find the daughter of the mountain climbing married couple. Through their connection with the young world, a family of 3 reunited for a short time. After the mountain climbing married couple said their last words to their daughter, they left. Being able to do their best to help others made So-mun very happy. Unexpectedly at this time, the bullies kidnapped Ju-yeon and Eung-min. The 2 were beaten and threatened by them, and Eung-min made a video call to So-mun. Eung-min was very chivalrous and didn't want to let his best friend take the risk. Hyuk-woo had no choice but to snatch Eung-min's phone and call So-mun himself. When So-mun saw his friend being beaten so brutally, he was extremely angry. Hyuk-woo's relaxed smile made him even more agitated. When So-mun arrived, many thugs with sticks were waiting to take him down. Hyuk-woo spoke arrogantly. He said that he wanted to bury So-mun and his friends here and build a high-rise building on top of it. After all, his father and Taesin Real Estate Company had secretly cooperated for a long time. So-mun looked at his friend lying on the ground with the arrogant people in front of him. He angrily questioned why they did that. The moment So-mun got angry and expressed his emotions, the territory was opened. Now he was full of power, with the mentality of ending everything. So-mun used his own strength to fight against more than 10 people. So-mun knocked them all to the ground. Meanwhile, Wee-jen in the young world suddenly became transparent. Her state was very unstable. She felt that So-mun had lost control of his emotions and opened a territory. It was very likely that he would hurt people. Wee-jen told her colleagues to quickly notify the other demon hunters to find So-mun. Upon receiving the notification, the teammates also saw the territory that So-mun had opened. When they rushed over, they saw So-mun beating Hyuk-woo. Fortunately, they stopped him in time to avoid irreparable consequences. Under Motak's comfort, So-mun cried bitterly in pain. He also realized that he had caused a disaster. He still could not fully control his abilities. At that moment, the alarm sounded. The police arrived. Mayoke wanted to erase the memories of the students there. But to make up for his mistakes, Somun bravely stayed to take responsibility. He also wanted to end it so that the school bullying would never happen again. The seniors knew that Somun had no one to protect him. It was very likely that he would lose to the powerful forces. Therefore, after leaving, they wisely went to find Chairman Jang Mul to rescue him. At the police station, the shameless school teacher said that the bully was the victim. Because Hyuk Woo was the son of Mayor Shin, this teacher blamed all the blame on Somun alone. At that time, the parents of the bullies ran over. These well-dressed people criticized Somun without asking for the reason. A woman even attacked Somun for not having parents and therefore lacking in education. Another man went even further. He stepped forward and punched Somun, causing his nose to bleed. Somun was isolated and helpless. At that moment, his savior arrived. Chairman Jang Mul appeared forcefully as Somun's guardian. Hana carried a pile of sticks used by the bullies behind her back. Chairman Jang Mul relied on his eloquence and strong identity to demand a thorough investigation of the school bullying cases and bring the mastermind to justice. Furthermore, he even gave the man who hit Somun a punch in revenge for Somun. At that time, the school teachers hoped that the two sides would reconcile. But Ju Yun and Eung Min stood up. They represented all the bullied students, hoping that the school would thoroughly resolve this issue. Faced with so much criticism, the teachers could only remain silent and say nothing. The matter had now been resolved. So Moon felt very grateful to Chairman Jang Mul. He told him to concentrate on being a demon hunter. He would be responsible for the consequences. When he returned home, his grandparents received a notice from the school. When they found out that Somun was not injured, they breathed a sigh of relief. Somun also told them the truth that his leg had healed. His grandparents were moved to tears. The three of them hugged each other and cried. At this time, Chairman Jang Mul and Hana hid to the side, and seeing this scene, they couldn't help but cry too. The next day, Motak started training early in the morning. Tracing his past made him feel very upset. He could be sure that the person who attacked him was related to the person who killed Somun's parents, but he didn't know where to start. On the other hand, after meeting Motak, Police Officer Kim remembered what he said. The appearance of a new person interrupted her thoughts. Police Officer Kang resigned to become Police Officer Kim's new partner. Before that, Police Officer Kim had always been isolated. The first task she gave to Police Officer Kang was to investigate a rapist. The next day, the investigation into school violence was announced to the entire school. The news that Somun might be the heir to President Jang Mul's transportation company was also hotly discussed by his classmates. Somun was walking on the street with his friends, attracting everyone's attention. He had become completely famous. The location of the bullies outside was also sealed off. Ju Yun and Eung Min exclaimed, this matter was finally over. On the other hand, Hyuk Woo, who was taken away for investigation, was dejected in the police station. He even took a photo with the staff there. When he posted the photo he had just taken online, Mayor Shin's secretary came and deleted the photo. Afterwards, he was ordered to stay put while Mayor Shin announced the new project. At this time, the mayor was holding a press conference about the new project. He was very ambitious, wanting to turn Jungjin into a central area to successfully establish a global ecological park. On this side, Police Officer Kim received news that the rapist she had captured had been released. Therefore, she angrily blocked his car but could not stop him. She returned and stormed into Director Choi's office, questioning him why he had released the criminal. Since the incident of Motak falling from the 5th floor, the once kind leader had become someone who only cared about profit. Director Choi thought she was pretending to be noble. He hoped she would stop doing such useless things. Police Officer Kim was completely disappointed with the police station. In the end, she decided to help Motak find the truth of the past. Police Officer Kim agreed to Motak's request. She took out the phone he had used before the incident. They went to the agreed location to meet. Her change surprised Motak. Even more surprising, Police Officer Kim told him that the two of them used to be lovers. After saying that, she ignored his expression and left. On this side, Chang Kyu, who had been released, went to the Taesin Real Estate Company. His older brother was Director No of the Taesin Group. Chang Kyu told his older brother that he had met someone who looked very much like the police officer in that year than at the police station. The person he mentioned was probably Motak. After hearing this, Director No seemed to have something in mind. In the noodle shop, Mayoke's young teammate Suho informed Mayoke that the three members of the Young World were discussing whether to strip So-mun of his demon hunter status. After learning about this, Mayoke quickly gathered everyone to discuss how to respond. So-mun didn't want to lose this job because Wee-jen had promised that if he did well, she would let him meet his parents. So the group went to the Young World, planning to argue firmly against this proposal. Suho stood on So-mun's side to explain to her, but Gi-ran and Woo-sik both thought that So-mun looked like he was very likely to bring danger and was not suitable to continue being a hunter. Hana was about to speak up, but Mayoke spoke first. She angrily said without any respect that had So-mun done something wrong or not, had anyone died? While they were were taking risks outside, the people here could only sit and talk, and Somun's beating of others this time was also out of protecting his friends, a legitimate defense, and should not be held responsible. Mayoke said that Somun was a kind and brave child. No one was more suitable to be a demon hunter than him. Motak and Hana, who stood behind her, also silently supported her. Mayoke helped Somun protect his identity as a demon hunter. On this side, Mayor Shin was enjoying himself in the sauna after suddenly, without any invitation. He said frankly, in front of Mayor Shin and the others, that this land was his. Mayor Shin had rented it for 50 years. This place used to be a cowshed. Mayor Shin's father was just a cow dung cleaner. Chairman Joan also said that Mayor Shin had used unfair means to achieve his current achievements, and even wanted to build a park on this land without permission. Mayor Shin just held back his laughter and said nothing after hearing that. But when he heard Chairman Joan say that Mayor Shin buried people on rented land, Mayor Shin's expression suddenly changed. Mayor Shin felt threatened and immediately contacted the subordinate Sang Pin, wanting to lower Chairman John's prestige. Sang Pin immediately went to find Chung Sin. Chung Sin especially listened to Sang Pin's words, and even affectionately called Sang Pin father, but it was clear that these two were not father and son. Then Sang Pin received a call from his son. Judging from the way he spoke, it seemed that it was his biological son. Chung Sin watched his back leave, his eyes filled with unwillingness. At this time, Wei Jian, wanting to keep her promise to Somun, asked Suho to help check the death records of Somun's parents based on the time of the accident being 2013. Suho checked the file cabinet but could not find any documents from 2013. This made Suho feel very surprised. On the other hand, Motak found someone to restore the data on the phone and found that he was investigating a girl named Kim Young Nim. Through the police database, she had been missing since that year and was considered dead. After returning to the noodle shop, Motak looked at the records. His last call before the accident was to Somun's father. He found this phone number very familiar. When he pressed the call button, the person on the other end of the line was indeed Somun. Coincidentally, Somun was also outside the noodle shop. He looked at everyone in the shop and smiled warmly, while the people inside felt extremely heartbroken. Seeing Motak calling him, Somun was very surprised. Motak said that this was his old number. Hana and Mayoke were also very cooperative, pretending that nothing had happened. Somun saw that the cell phone in Motak's hand was very old and felt very curious. Motak told Somun that he was also a criminal police officer before. Somun suddenly felt that there was a lot of fate. It turned out that Motak was in the same profession as his parents. Then, Motak changed the subject. The next day was Somun's first day at the noodle shop. Motak told him to do his best. Chung Sin on the other side followed the instructions and started to act, but he did not follow the orders and directly killed Chairman John. Then he went to the cake shop to buy a cake as San Pin requested. A short-haired woman named Jang Hee suddenly walked up to the cashier. Chung Sin saw her smiling creepily when he went through the mirror. He turned to look at her and saw that she was still normal. When the woman left, Chung Sin kept staring at her. Now Jang Hee has returned home. While her husband was taking a shower, she started preparing lunch and secretly added a spoonful of peanut butter to the vegetable juice. Then on the table, she watched her husband drink the juice and asked him if he would really die if he ate peanuts. It turned out that Jang Hee's husband was allergic to peanuts. Any dish containing peanuts, eating one bite would be life-threatening. But just now, she gave him a big spoonful. At this moment, her husband's breathing started to become rapid, and he hurriedly ran to find medicine. Jang Hee was laughing crazily on the side. When her husband fell to the ground and died, she took out her husband's phone and transferred 1.2 billion won to her. On the other side, Chung Sin stood outside the restaurant holding a cake, watching the happy and harmonious Sang Pin family. An indescribable feeling of admiration and jealousy rose in his heart. This cake was bought for celebrating Sang Pin's son's birthday. Sang Pin went out to receive the real estate documents that Chung Sin got from Chairman John. Sang Pin had just praised Chung Sin for doing a good job, but then found out that Chung Sin had killed Chairman John. Sang Pin was extremely angry and immediately dragged Chung Sin into the kitchen to beat him up. Chung Sin held his head and did not resist at all. Not only that, he also knelt down to apologize and even wiped the blood stains on Sang Pin's expensive shoes. On the other side, Jang Hee was applying lipstick in front of the mirror when suddenly a hand reached out and strangled her. She saw herself through the mirror, and the two versions looked at each other and laughed loudly. Meanwhile, Somun was cleaning outside the noodle shop and suddenly saw a small piece of territory, so he touched it. Hana, Motak, and Mayoke were all very surprised. The three of them could not summon the territory at will. Based on what happened before, Hana deduced that Somun's special ability was to summon the territory, but when Somun actively tried to summon, there was no reaction. At this time, Jang Hee was happily shopping at the mall and accidentally entered the territory. This time, Somun and Hana sensed the demon's actions at the same time. The whole team there, Moton, that the level very difficult to deal with. Not only could it use soul power, but it could also read the hunter's thoughts to bewitch them. Motok told So-mun to be careful. When they arrived, the four of them split up to search each floor. At this time, Jong-hee was talking to the demon in her head. The demon liked the necklace around the store employee's neck, so she didn't hesitate to reach out and snatch it. The commotion attracted the attention of the security guard. Not long after, So-mun and Jong-hee passed by each other. So-mun immediately notified the members and followed her into the elevator. The sharp level 3 demon discovered that someone was following him. When there were only the two of them left in the elevator, he immediately attacked and knocked So-mun unconscious. Fortunately, Hana arrived in time to prevent the demon from escaping. The two sides exchanged countless moves. At first, they were evenly matched, but then the demon began to pull out its weapons and continuously hit her with its high heels. Hana was completely powerless to fight back. In the end, the demon even strangled Hana and told her about her painful past. Her entire family died of poisoning, leaving only Hana alive. So-mun heard everything in his sleep. At this moment, Motok ran over and punched the demon hard, knocking him out. Then the police finally arrived. They were following Jong-hee because of the case of her murdered husband. Seeing that they could not perform the exorcism for the time being, Motok pushed back the police and fled the scene with So-mun and Hana. Being reminded of painful memories by the demon, Hana was extremely upset. She poured her negative emotions into her punches. Seeing So-mun coming forward, she warned him that if he dared to reveal what had just happened in the elevator, he would definitely die. So-mun did not answer and just started grilling meat. He remembered what Hana had said in the car. As long as she heard the sound of grilling meat, she would calm down. He knew that Hana's mood was definitely not good at the moment. While grilling meat, he began to comfort her. Under So-mun's warm comfort, Hana finally smiled again. On this side, Motok went to find police officer Kim to investigate Kim Young-nim's case together. He showed her Kim Young-nim's photo. Motok was very curious. Police officer Kim is his student and ex-girlfriend. Why doesn't she know about this case? Police officer Kim angrily said that he was afraid of her being revenged, worried about her safety, so he didn't allow her to intervene. The atmosphere between the two became awkward. Then they went to Kim Young-nim's home address together. During the investigation, Motok stared at police officer Kim, thinking that this woman had been waiting for him for 7 years. His mood was extremely complicated. After tearing off the wallpaper, Motok discovered dried blood stains. The two took pictures and used cotton swabs to get evidence. At this time, police officer Kim received a phone call and hurriedly left the scene. It turned out that Chairman John's body was discovered. His death was extremely tragic, not something that an ordinary person could do. Hana went to an old house, so Moon was worried about her, so he followed behind. This house was Hana's previous home. The house had not been there for a long time, but the familiar scene before her eyes made her feel heartbroken. Suddenly, she heard a noise in the room. It turned out that two siblings were secretly sleeping in this old house. So Moon heard the noise and rushed in. He recognized the sister who went to the same school as him. On this side, Sang Pin brought Chairman John's real estate documents to meet Mayor Shin. As a result, as soon as he entered, he was thrown a glass of wine at his head by Mayor Shin's subordinate and was chased out. Director No saw this and quickly stepped forward to pull him out. Director No blamed Sang Pin for killing Chairman John. Now he had to handle it well. Director No wanted Sang Pin to kill Chung Sin to avoid trouble. Later, inside another private room, Mayor Shin discussed with his subordinates how to handle the documents obtained from Chairman John and solve the problem of his son. Director Choi also attended this evening. Under the coercion and enticement of Mayor Shin, Director Choi agreed to quickly handle this case. The incident should have developed in this order, but when Director Choi's men arrived, they discovered that police officer Kim had called people from the National Forensic Center to collect evidence. They also locked the door and did not let anyone in. On this side, Motok received a call from So-mun to go to the scene to investigate the situation. At this time, there was a sudden noise outside. It turned out that this neighborhood was about to. The gangsters of the Tayson group were checking to see if anyone was still alive in this area. Originally, they wanted to pretend that no one in the house could escape, but the girl in the bathroom spoke up. The gangsters immediately broke down the door and rushed in, but unfortunately for them, there was a group of hunters there. They kicked the gangsters out of the gate. At this time, Motok discovered Chang Kyu sitting in the car. This familiar face made him regain his memories of his death. On the rooftop, Motok was surrounded by enemies on all sides. After realizing that there was no way way out, he resolutely jumped from the upper floor. Chang Qiu was extremely scared when he saw that Mo Tak, who was already dead, had now appeared in front of him. Mo Tak glared fiercely at the enemy before his eyes. Chang Qiu tried to escape but was knocked unconscious by So Mun. The subordinate saw that the situation was not good and drove away. Ha Na read Chang Qiu's memories and confirmed that he was the leader in the attack on Mo Tak that year. But because he overdosed on drugs and suffered from amnesia, Ha Na had no news of Kim Young Nim. So Mun naively thought that just handing Chang Qiu over to the police would solve everything. But Mo Tak said that he had cooperated with the corrupt police. After discussing, they decided to put Chang Qiu in a sack and hand him over to his brother to deal with. The group drove to the front gate of Tayson and turned off the camera at the door with a jammer. So Mun threw Chang Qiu down. After observing Director No's reaction, Mo Tak deduced that Tayson Group and the masterminds had collaborated to kill him and his colleague, who were also So Mun's parents. He did not tell So Mun the truth, afraid that So Mun would have a mental breakdown if he knew. The next day, Juyeon and Eung Min talked about the crazy woman in the mall. Juyeon said that a group of kind people had caught her and that they all had curly hair. At this moment, she stared at So Mun, suspecting that he was also one of them. So Mun heard that and rode his bike away. The three happily chased each other on the road. So Mun accidentally rode his bike past the road where the accident happened when he was young, and he recalled the tragic experiences of his childhood. Until now, he still did not dare to face this road. On the other side, Director No came to visit Chang Qiu, who was in the hospital. Chang Qiu had lost his memory of last night, but his subordinate insisted that he had seen Mo Tak. Moreover, Mo Tak had also lost his memory. Under Director No's questioning, Chang Qiu insisted that he had confirmed that Mo Tak was dead that year before retreating. After that, Chang Qiu denied what his subordinate said, claiming that his subordinate had drunk too much alcohol and was talking nonsense. Director No angrily strangled the subordinate. Director No ordered that regardless of whether the person was Mo Tak or not, he must be brought before Director No. Inside the noodle shop, Maok was unhappy to see that everyone was investigating the murderer who injured Mo Tak. Maok reminded them not to interfere in the affairs of ordinary people. And So Mun, after searching for news about Director No without any results, sat down and drew a portrait of Director No. Then, through the picture, he found Director No's wanted poster. It turned out that Tayson's director was a gangster. Police Officer Kim looked at the photo of the crime scene of Chairman John's murder, and the murderer's method of killing was truly too cruel, without any humanity at all. Police Officer Kang said that oil stains were found in the murderer's footprints, and it was possible that he was involved in car-related work. The strange thing was that of the two surveillance cameras next to each other on the road, only the first camera captured the murderer's image. The next moment, the murderer disappeared. At night, Sang-pin recalled what Director No said. After thinking about it, Sang-pin finally made up his mind. Then he took a gun and went to find Chung-sin. Sang-pin planned to shoot when Chung-sin turned his back, but still hesitated. Chung-sin also took out the ticket to the match with his father when he was 10 years old. Although Sang-pin was touched to know that Chung-sin still kept memories with him, Sang-pin still made up his mind to eliminate Chung-sin tonight. At the moment Sang-pin was about to pull the trigger, he discovered that the gun had been disabled. Chung-sin angrily used his soul power, controlling Sang-pin to point the gun at his own head, finally shooting himself and leaving this world. So Moon stayed at home to look up the documents of Chang Qiu and Director No. He accidentally discovered the relics left by his parents. There was a memory card in the laptop, so Moon watched the video content. He saw that his parents seemed to be following a car. The next day, Mo Tak made an appointment to meet with Police Officer Kim. When Mo Tak was wondering what to wear, So-mun told him the information he had investigated. A wanted gangster overnight became the director of a top corporation. There must be something mysterious. So-mun was very interested in seeing Mo Tak, wanting to go out to solve the case, so he followed Mo Tak to the blood testing center. The center staff told Mo Tak that the blood sample from the day before was Kim Young Nim's. At the same time, she was pregnant, and it also included a man's blood type AB and an animal's blood. Next, they went to see Police Officer Kim, who was investigating the scene of Chairman Jones' crime. Mo Tak gave the blood test report to Police Officer Kim. Through the detailed observation, Mo Tak discovered that the suspect's footprints suddenly disappeared, and there were blood stains on the rocks by the roadside. It seemed that the suspect had stepped on the stone wall and jumped onto the roof. At this time, Police Officer Kim received another phone call to the police station. Mo Tak and So-mun immediately jumped onto the roof. Sure enough, the culprit's footprints were found there. On the other side, all the information about Chairman John's case had been handed over to someone else by Director Choi. Police Officer Kang was extremely angry. He felt that Director Choi was really not human and could cover up such a cruel crime. Police Officer Kim was also unwilling to go to Chairman John's villa to search. From a book, she discovered the connection between Kim Young Nim and Mayor Shin. During the time Mayor Shin ran for office, Kim Young Nim was his volunteer. Police Officer Kim seemed to have thought of something something. She immediately flipped through Chairman John's documents and found out that his blood type was AB. At this time, Mo-tak texted her about the suspect's clue, while So-mun curiously flipped through Kim Young-nim's related documents. Suddenly, he discovered a picture of the car his parents were following. He asked Mo-tak where this picture came from. Mo-tak thought that this could be evidence that Kim Young-nim was dumped. Then So-mun showed Mo-tak the video. So-mun wondered why his parents and Mo-tak were investigating the same case. So-mun realized that his parents were likely murdered. He grabbed the report of the car accident 7 years ago from Mo-tak's hand, and sure enough, he saw a picture of his parents' death. Hearing the commotion, Mayok and Hana also ran over. So-mun angrily questioned them why they hid him. Hana told So-mun that he had met the murderer and knew who the murderer was, but because So-mun blamed himself, he chose to forget the memories of that year's accident. Therefore, Hana could not see the murderer. So-mun shouted loudly, wanting to regain his memories while crying and running away from the scene. Then he called Ju-yeon and Eung-min. What So-mun needed most now was the help of his friends. He cycled to the road where the accident happened, determined to recall all the memories from before. So-mun kept blaming himself for killing his parents. The two good friends could only hug So-mun and comfort him. The next day, Hana took the initiative to come find So-mun. She explained that everyone hid the truth about So-mun's parents' death just to protect him. Hana also wanted to help him regain his memories. At this time, the grandfather asked about Hana's identity. So-mun said that she was his girlfriend, which made the grandfather very happy. The two of them went into So-mun's room. Hana used the picture that So-mun drew in the car that year as a means to return to the night of the accident. Hana reminded So-mun not to touch anything in this world, otherwise it would cause problems. The two of them saw that the murderer of So-mun's parents was Chung-sin. Their souls were also eaten by him, so the new young world had no information about So-mun's parents. Unexpectedly, Chung-sin discovered them. He laughed and threatened Hana that he would definitely find her body. So-mun was momentarily agitated and attacked him, despite Hana's advice. Chung-sin also recognized that So-mun was the boy that year. He angrily strangled So-mun, and the two of them suddenly returned to the auto repair shop in reality. Then they continued to fight. Chung-sin can use the phone to travel between So-mun's memories and reality. Hana sees that things are about to get out of control. She quickly brings So-mun back to the real world. So-mun is angry and wants to go back to continue fighting the enemy. Hana reminds him that he is currently no match for a level 3 demon. Think about his grandparents. So-mun is extremely helpless. He swears to kill the demon to avenge his parents. Mayok is also feeling very sad. Mayok doesn't know how to tell So-mun that his parents' souls have been eaten by the demon. At this time, Hana takes So-mun back to the noodle shop. Mayok is heartbroken when she learns that So-mun knows everything. Mayok hugs him, an innocent child who saw his parents brutally murdered with his own eyes. This pain is unimaginable. Because the truth is clear, Mo-tak doesn't hide it from So-mun anymore. He talked about the real relationship between him and So-mun's parents. They were colleagues and were investigating a murder case together. At this time, So-mun suddenly remembered that on the day of the accident, the broadcast of the election for Mayor Shin in the city was playing. So-mun's father was extremely angry and turned off the radio, saying that he would definitely investigate to the end. Later, the two discovered from the newspaper that Mo-tak had collected that Kim Young-nim was one of the people that Mayor Shin had trained back then, but had suddenly disappeared. Combined with the data that Mo-tak had investigated before, he guessed that Mayor Shin was the one who caused Kim Young-nim's death. After Mo-tak and So-mun's parents discovered the clue, Mayor Shin sent assassins to kill and silence him in order to keep his position. Now the case has developed to another level. Recently, Chairman John was also murdered. The traces left at the scene showed that the culprit was most likely a demon. Actually, Mo-tak had already identified the suspect, just waiting for police officer Kim to confirm it. Before leaving, Mo-tak encouraged So-mun that he was not alone. The counter group would always be by So-mun's side. Not long after, Mo-tak received the camera footage sent by police officer Kim. He finally confirmed that the culprit was Chung-sin. The most important thing was to find him. At this moment, So-mun was also pensively looking at Chung-sin's portrait in his room. He wanted to engrave the face of the enemy who killed his parents in his mind. He must find Chung-sin. Suddenly, the scene of the fight with him appeared. So-mun thought carefully for a long time and finally found a useful detail, which was the name of the parking lot where the demon appeared. Could it be that Chung-sin's hideout was that parking lot? After receiving someone's notice, Mo-tak quickly contacted police officer Kim to quickly go to the parking lot. Very quickly, the 4 people in the squad and police officer Kim arrived at the scene at the same time. The whole group carefully conducted a search. Police officer Kim was extremely upset. Who were the people that Mo-tak brought? He told her that So-mun was Soo-gwan's son. The other 2 were the employees of the noodle shop. Police officer Kim began to think when he heard So-mun's name. Very quickly, So-mun discovered Chung-sin's uniform and conveniently learned the name of his client. At this time, police officer Kim appeared beside him. She was a little surprised because the doctor had initially diagnosed that So-mun's leg would not recover. Now it seemed that he had no difficulty walking. She was also very happy that So-mun was healthy. On this side, Mayoke had an important discovery. She discovered a dead body in a very terrifying state. The victim was none other than Song Pin. Police officer Kim asked everyone to leave because now there was a dead person. The police would take over the area. Police officer Kim knew that this case would definitely be covered up, so she notified the entire media to get involved. Director Choi was surrounded by reporters as soon as he arrived at the scene. Director Choi saw the decomposed body of the victim, and he was so disgusted that he vomited. Meanwhile, Mayor Shin secretly met with an old man. From their conversation, it was known that Mayor Shin's ambition was not simply the position of Mayor Shin. His ultimate goal was to win the presidency of South Korea. At the same time, it was also known that this politician's background was not simple. The next morning, Hana was busy at the noodle shop when a TV news caught her attention. A man named Song Man-ho was standing in front of the police station for an interview. He had previously been involved in a murder case but had always denied it. A group of people stood at the door. The atmosphere was extremely chaotic. This scene reminded Hana of her high school days, when her father was framed and the company's business was stagnant. She had sought help from her uncle. That uncle was none other than Song Man-ho from the news. Not only did he not have the slightest bit of compassion, he also spoke sarcastically and provocatively. In the end, he took out 200,000 won and gave it to Hana. How could Hana forget the humiliation that year? Returning to the present, she was determined to let him know the price he had to pay for his cruelty. At the same time, Song Man-ho was scolding his subordinates for letting the news of the dead employee leak out. Because a company employee went to the police station to report, Song Man-ho was investigated by the police. The police promised to keep the identity of the informant absolutely confidential. However, very quickly, the poor employee was dealt with. A new employee saw his colleague helplessly being beaten. He couldn't bear to look anymore, so he went to support, and this made him extremely suspicious. Was this new employee an intelligence agent? After beating him for a while, Song Man-ho took out some money and gave it to the employee, warning him not to say anything to the police. Otherwise, his sister would be the first to suffer the consequences. At the same time, Director Nose followed someone back. The subordinate reported the investigation information to the boss. Director No was very surprised that Motak was still alive. Now it's the presidential election season. Absolutely no incident can happen. Director No ordered his subordinates to bring Motak back here.